and good evening. First of all, we would like to thank everyone for participating in our event. So, we welcome everyone to our 30th Chennai MuleSoft meetup. Since it is a 30th event, so I just wanted to take a moment to thank all the organizers and speakers so far for this Chennai community team for consistently making this 30 sessions impactful and well organized. So big thanks to all the leaders of this community. As part of our Mulentine initiative, so we are celebrating a special theme called Love Letters to Mule. In which it's all about expressing our passion for MuleSoft and sharing our learning journey, and it is like strengthening our bond within our integration community. So with that I would like to thank everyone for joining again. And So today we have a topic, a dynamic header injection using custom policy. So before we begin, let me quickly walk through some of the safe harbor statements and housekeeping rules. Both the speakers and the host are organizing this meetup in individual capacity only. We are not representing our companies here. This presentation is strictly for learning purpose only. Organizers or presenters do not hold any responsibility that same solution will work for your business requirement. This presentation is not meant for any promotional activities. And housekeeping rules, this recorded will be uploaded in the event page within 24 hours. So you can ask the questions, and you can submit the questions in question and answers tab as well. To make more interactive, we have enabled everyone like a presenter mode, so you can unmute and speak up. So the main thing, give us the feedback. So rate this meetup session by filling the feedback form. So you will be getting that feedback once this meetup got end. So we love your feedbacks. And yes, myself, Preeti Lakshmanan, I'm working as a senior technical analyst at DXC Technology. I'm having 8+ years of experience in IT with complete 7 years in MuleSoft experience. I have certified in MuleSoft developer and architect, and Solis certified as well. So I am the speaker and leader for Chennai MuleSoft meetup community. And then and Today I'm going to introduce our speaker for today's session, Krishnan V. So he's working as the associate system engineer at Cricket Private Limited. So he's having around 8 months of experience in MuleSoft. So in this short span of time, he actively explored the MuleSoft technologies, and his passion towards this learning and sharing the knowledge is truly outstanding. He himself stepped up as a speaker, and we really appreciate his enthusiasm towards this learning. Thank you so much, Krishnan. And with this, let's get started. Over to you, Krishnan.
Okay, thank you, Preeti. Okay, first of all, good morning, everyone. I'll start with my quick intro. Myself, Krishnan. I'm working as associate system engineer at Sicket, and I have 8+ months of experience in MuleSoft, and I am a Salesforce certified developer. Okay, now I'll start with that agenda. Before going to this, if anyone having any doubts or need any clarification while I'm explaining, just raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question in between itself. No need to wait for that QA session. Okay, then I will start first agenda. Before anyone have any idea about what is custom policy here? Anyone? Anyone have worked before? Okay.
Yeah, Krishna, I have worked on custom policy.
Okay, thank you. Then you have some idea about this, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, here before going to this custom policy, everyone knows first of all what is policy. Policy is basically a rule which we will apply for our APIs. It will present in the API gate level. So here in Mule we have a lot of policies. But why we need custom policy and what is custom policy and architecture of the custom policy, we will see in this PPT. Okay, first of all, what is custom policy? Um, that's what basically policy is, basically rule of or we will apply for our API. But custom policies basically user defined policies. Out of, we can say it like a user defined or user customized policies. When if there is no policies available in mule side, or if there is no standard policy for our specific needs, we will go for custom policy in order to provide our basic and specific user logic and customized logic. Okay, Preeti, can you go to next slide? Why we need custom policy? In Mule, they have given lot of policies like for security and for traffic control, but in when we met some unique requirement or there is no policies available for our specific business use case, at the time we will go for this custom policy. There are a lot of advantages in custom policy. We can customize depending on our uses. There is no limit actually in custom policy. This is in, for example, I have done one use case, that is for the dynamic interjection policy. That one is also one use case which I have worked before in my seniors project. That is also one real time project actually. Here, in standard policy, we have header injection policy, but in that header injection policy, we cannot able to insert any dynamic values. If you know the exact value, then we will go for that standard policy. When we don't know what the request we will get, what the response we will get, or exactly we don't know the content which we have to insert to our API, at the time we will go for this dynamic header injection policy. That means uh, basically this one is dynamic. No need of that standard hard coding or nothing here. That this policy will get dynamically the value from one external API, and it will validate that response, and it will automatically inject to our API. With the next slide.
Yep.
Architecture. Basically, this architecture is same for every policies and everything. First, the client will hit the request. That request will first reach that API gate level. Inside that API gate level, the policy will get executed. After executing, it will validate the logic which we have written there. It will start executing. After all the validation and successful execution, it will forward to the backend service. That means backend API. This is what the basic architecture. Okay, next slide. Components. In custom policy, mainly we have two components. That is, one is policy.ml, another one is policy.xml. Here the policy.ml file is basically for where there we will mention our policy name, policy description, and configuration parameter, UA elements. And that means UA element is basically, for example, in standard policies, for header, if you are applying that header injection policy, while you are applying that header injection policy in API manager, it will ask for some values to insert to our API. That means that header value we will pass it there. For that, it will ask there it one text box is there. That is that we will say at UI element. So this is what in that if you want to show some UI element in our custom policy, we will use that. We will write code in our policy.ml file. So that UL element will be displayed in our API manager while we are applying our policy. And another one is policy.xml. This is basically the exact place where we will write our custom policy logic and customized logic, and here only we will see our mule flow. But here in custom policy, there is no uh, topic or content like mule flows, but we can make our connectors. We can make our code like a normal how we will see in our mule project. That means flow. We will drag and drop every components in our flow, right? So like that we can modify our code also there in policy.xml. Basically we will write our execution logic there. Next slide. Use case. Okay, I will explain. I will just give small intro like my use case. Basically, in my when the user is triggering, it will come to the API gate level. When my policies get executing, at the time it will get some new credentials and new values from an external API. By getting that external API from an external source, it will validate those new client ID and client secret. And after validation, it will process and validate. After that, it will inject to the backend API. That external source means I'm just using on REST API here. So from that REST API, I will get those values and I will process and I will inject here. So this is what the basically that use case which I have done. Okay, next. Here you can see I added your image. Simply you can understand here. First, that client will send on request. After making that API call, it will go to that API gate level. Inside that API gate level, we have our policy. So inside my policy, I'm just calling on external API, REST API. After calling that REST API, we will get response like new client ID and a new client secret. After getting that values, I'm validating and I'm processing. I'm validating. After validating, I'm just injecting those credentials to backend API. If there is a invalid user or anything, I'm just using some error handling part also. So if there is an invalid header or an invalid user is trying to access, at the time it will throw 401 invalid client and invalid header error. This was basically a simplified view of my POC. Next slide. Okay, best practices. These are all the main things we have to follow while we are implementing custom policy or we are working in custom policy. First, we need to use secure property. Wherever we are using any sensitive information or not supposed to expose those values at the time, we should use secure property. In my POC, I'm calling on external API. For that API, I am using client ID enforcement policy. I enabled client ID enforcement policy. So I am passing that client ID in secure property so that credentials will not expose. For that, we have to use secure property for all the sensitive informations. Next one is configure property. Configure property we have to use for non-sensitive values, like when you are configuring some connectors or something. In my project, I'm using that requester. So for the requester, I need to mention host, post, everything. So for that, I'm using this configure property to refer all those values there. And the main thing here, we have to follow that avoid hard codings, every hard coding credentials in policy.xml. For that only, we are using that secure property also. These are the best practices we have to follow, and we should follow that lightweight code coverage also. Next, okay, now we will move to the demo part. Mm,
And stop sharing, Krishna.
Ah, yes, yes, Preeti, you can stop sharing screen. Up to this, anyone having any doubt or anything else, just raise your hands. Up to this, anyone say yes or no? I want more interactive, please. If it is no, just say no.
No, Krishna.
No, I think.
No,
Yeah,
Krishna.
Thank you.
all good.
Is my screen visible, right?
Yes.
Yes, Krishna.
Correct? Okay. Okay. First, first thing we have to create one setting.xml file. Before I'm showing the exact demo of my POC, I will show how to create one skeleton project, how to create and how to deploy a custom policy. After showing how to create, how to deploy, after that I will show the demo of my POC. Before starting create your custom policy architecture or that skeleton project, we have to create one settings.xml file in our maven repository. Basically here you can see this settings.xml file. I can't open it here because I am using some Nexus credentials and all, so I will show it here. You can see it here. This is what the settings.xml file. Basically this setting.xml file is a maven repository file. This will contain all our credentials, and it will connect our custom policy and our anypoint platform. So by using this settings.xml only, we can deploy our application to our anypoint platform. Basically it will navigate our application where to deploy and what are the libraries repositories needed. It will download all the needed libraries, everything. So here you can see this is the root element settings.xml. This is the profile which our profile is gets active. So here I'm mentioning ID, everything. Here you can see this is the public repository. Basically this will, when you are trying to deploy your policy, so it will download all the repository which are available, publicly available, which are all needed for our application. It will download all the necessary libraries, plugins, everything. This you can see here. This is for our here when in custom policy we can use some HTTP extension, but for that extension we need some Nexus credentials, because that are for available for only for the paid version. So for that we need the Nexus credentials. So for the Nexus credential we will declare this repository. That means it will download all the Nexus repository libraries, everything. This is that server. Basically this will store our client ID, client secret, everything. Here you can see inside the service I'm pausing my client ID and say that not client ID, username and password of my anypoint platform. So by using this credential it will allow our application to deploy in our anypoint platform. Here I'm using that Nexus credentials, so it is needed for that HTTP extensions. This is the main thing we have to do before starting our custom policy. First we have to create this settings dot file. This is step one. After this we have some maven commands to create skeleton project. Here you can see this is the maven command. You can get this command from our mule official mule document. I pasted the links in PPT also. If it is needed, just let me know. I will paste the MuleSoft mule document link in chat box also. Here you can see, here also we will mention our repository, everything. Here we will mention our version, which version we are using, our custom policy name, and this is our organization ID, in which organization you want to create your application. That means skeleton project. Okay, let me run this command so you can get. Before that I'll check. I'm named as demo mule. Here I'm using opening cmd command prompt. It will take few seconds to create that skeleton project. Basically that skeleton project means we will get the exact project structure, how the custom policy looks. it will ask for policy description. Once again, it will ask for the policy name. Just copying from here. Now, if you see in your local repository, you can see the new project which we have created. New dynamic header injection policy which we have created now. So this is how we will create one skeleton project. Here you can see all the files folders.
We have created demo, right? A demo, Krishnan.
Ah, yes,
The new demo mule. Yeah.
demo means.
Artifact ID we have updated to demo, right?
Ah, yes,
Demo
yes.
mule dynamic header, not new. Just
Okay, here demo.
search.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
it got there. Yeah,
Here, this one,
yeah,
file date. Okay,
yeah.
this one you can see here now, which I have created now. Demo mule dynamic header injection policy. So this is how we will create one skeleton project. So I'll show you how to. Give me a minute. Okay. Up to this, any doubts? It will take few minutes.
Yes, Prem Kumar, you have any doubt? Please unmute.
Krishna, now we are running that Maven command in command prompt, right?
Yes.
Instead of that, can we create the skeleton project via in Anypoint Studio? Is there any options like that?
No. If you are saying new document also, we can create by using this Maven command only. They have mentioned like that only. But we can deploy our policy in two ways, by using Maven command, as well as we can deploy our policy in UI using UI also. In any point exchange we can deploy. But for creating a skeleton project, this is the way how we will create.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone having any other doubts up to this?
One general question, like to publish, do we need exchange contributor permission or administrator?
No, for that only, for publishing, we will create that settings.xml Maven file, Maven repository. There we will pass our credentials there. So when we are processing our credentials, we can publish. But when you are in your policy, if you are using any paid extensions, that HTTP extension, at the time you need that Nexus credential should be present in our settings.file, or else you can't able to publish your.
No. I mean, when we are publishing to endpoint exchange, what kind of
Okay.
permissions do that particular user required? Is it exchange administrator or exchange
No, no,
contributor?
no. No permissions required.
No, we
Uh,
need some particular permission.
Nothing, no. Because we will publish using Maven command, at the time it won't ask for any kind of permissions.
Not
How we will
from user, from endpoint platform perspective.
any point platform you are asking in any. Mm, Actually, I am here. I'm using trial account, so I'm not aware
Mm-hmm.
of it. Let me check it once again, and I will let you know. Here I'm just using trial account only, so I'm not aware
Okay.
of it. Now so now we will import our project which we have created now. This one mule demo mule. Here you can see our project gets imported. Here you can see the components template.xml. Here you can see the template.xml and this JSON YAML file. So in this YAML file only, we will see our application and the policy name, policy description, and if we want to mention any UI elements, we will configure here. I will show that one also while doing. Here now I'll just simply removing this. For now I will simply add on logger and I will show you. Here the one more main thing is whenever you are adding any component or it will throw error because in our normal mule project when we are drag and dropping some connectors, that namespaces will be automatically gets added, but in custom policy we have to add the namespaces manually. Namespaces means this XML and these are all we will call it as namespace. So for this logger there is no namespaces available, so we have to add. For logger we will have that doc namespace here. So now you can see the error is gone. So this is the one way we can add the namespace manually. Here there is another way to add the namespaces also. Now I'll show that one also. Here if you see now, I'm just removing this for now. I'll remove. We have to make this custom policy like a normal mule project. For that I'm just toggling this and all. Toggling now it will become like a normal mule project, so we will get one flow. So if we add components like this, now you can see the one logger is get added, so the namespaces also will automatically gets added. But you have to make sure when you are doing like this, after doing you should untoggle all the commands for that policy. So you have to remove the flow name, everything, then only it will work, because there is no concept like flow and the listener and all in policy. So make sure you have to untoggle all the commands. Now I'll untoggle all the things. So here you can see one tag, HTTP execute next. If you are adding any logic, if you are doing any logic after this HTTP next, it will execute after the backend API gets executed. After finishing that API call, only this one will gets executed. Basically, this one is before API backend API, it will get executed. After this execute, if you're writing any logic, it will get executed after the backend API gets executed. So like this. Here I'm just adding one logger dynamic header injection policy get started. Here you can see when you are creating any skeleton project and you are importing from one organization ID, but if you want to deploy that application in different organization, you have to change this organization ID in which organization you are going to deploy here, and this here you have to change the organization ID. For now I don't need this dependency. Let me remove this. And one more thing we have to add it here in this one. Now if you are without adding this command, if you are trying to execute, that policy will deploy it, but it won't appear in our API manager. So we have to add this command. Okay. Now I'll show how to deploy this. Up to here, anyone having any doubts? No.
No, I think all good, Krishna. We can proceed.
Okay. Then now I will show how to deploy custom policy. Okay. First we have to go to that exact folder. So here I'm going show in Project Explorer. Here you can see our project under that anypoint platform. So here after going inside, I'm opening command prompt. Here we have to use two commands. One is mun clean install. This command we will use for the very first time. After now this is the first time you are going to deploy your policy to your exchange. At the time, the very first time we will use this mun clean install. So when you are running this command, it will download all the necessary repositories packages for our policy. After deploying our application, if you are trying to redeploy it, at the time you no need to use this mun clean install command. Directly you can proceed with mun clean deploy. So now I'm right. Check it.
Krishna,
Ah,
install spelling is wrong.
okay, okay.
Just check once.
Okay, now our project installed. So now I'm running mun clean deploy. build success. Let me check in my anypoint platform. Here you can see demo mule dynamic header injection policy which we have created now. So I'll apply this policy. When you are redeploying and you are updating the version, you want to see the new latest versions, you can click here advanced options. You can see it here. For now we have only one version 1.00. Policy will get takes few minutes to apply. Here you can see policy applied policy demo mule dynamic header injection. So let me run this. I triggered the you can see the log here. Dynamic header injection policy started. So our policy is working correctly. So like this only we will create a skeleton project. We will implement the policy and we will deploy our policy to exchange. Okay, I hope this one is clear. Let me show my POC. New dynamic header injection policy. This is my POC. Here, this is my template.xml file. Here I have written my logic for this custom policy. You can see. Okay, let me show you in mule manner so it will be more understandable. Here you can see the logic so it will be more understandable. That's why I make it like this. Here I am using on start logger and here I am printing attributes. Okay, after that I am using one choice router. In this choice router I'm checking whether the incoming request have that client id and the client secret. It should must contain this client id client secret. If it's containing the users passing this client id client secret, then it will allow and it will go to this choice router, or else here I'm just using one set response and I'm body error message. We will get it there. So this is set response, also the http extension which will available in mule document. For this we need an access credentials. So here I'm using the set response. If the user is contain having that client id and client secret, so it will go here. This is that external API which we will get that new client id and client secret. Here I'll show you. This is that API, external API. So we will get this new client id value, new client secret value. We will get this value. So after getting, once again I'm just using one more choice router and I'm checking Here I'm storing those values in variable, advanced target variable. Here you can see new credentials. I'm storing those values in target variable. After storing, once again I'm just checking whether that variable having this new credentials, new client ID and new client secret. If it is contained, I'm using remove headers. Why I'm using remove header is while the user triggering the API, they will pass this client ID and client secret. So I want to remove, because in custom policy there is no concept like override. So if there is no override concept is available, we have to remove and we have to add. So for that only I'm just removing by using this remove header. This is also the HTTP extension. So for this also we need that Nexus credentials. Here I'm just removing the old client ID and client secret. Here I'm just adding that new client ID, client secret. You can see I'm just passing the variable name and I'm passing the values. So like this I'm just removing and adding. If that target variable also not containing any value, here I'm using one more set response to stop. Here I'm passing invalid client, error message, invalid client and invalid header, status code 401. Here I'm using rise error. Why I'm using rise error? I even though if you are setting response like 401 500 error message, that policy will not stop. So that you will get that error code and error message, but the policy will this policy will allow the user to reach the API. So I don't want that to happen. So I'm using rise error. There itself I'm just stopping that policy and throwing error. Here also I did the same thing. So I'm just stopping. After at last I'm just using this end logger. Here you can see this how this is like. You will get from that mule document code HTTP transform set response. For header, adding header, you will get code like this. This is what that POC. Let me run this POC as well. Here I'm using secure and config properties. You can see it here. Here I'm using configuration properties. So I'm pausing that host port everything. Here I'm pausing that client ID, because here in this flow for this request store I have enabled that client ID enforcement policy. For that I'm just passing that client ID. Here I just encrypted that value. Because of that only we will see like this. This is the encrypted value. I'm passing this value in encrypted manner. So this is what here. Here also same that policy.yaml file. This is what the POC. Let me show you. This is the URL. Here before in first choice router I'm just passing the client ID, client secret. So here I'm passing client ID 000 and client secret 0. Okay, let me test this one. Here I'm getting success response. So my policy gets executed successfully. If you see the log, you can see. In a few seconds now only. This is the logger which I'm having in my backend API. In that API I'm just printing attributes. So if you see here, we will get that values. This is a value which we will get in external API. New client 123 secret, it was masked. and it removed the headers here. Here we are passing on headers client ID client secret. If you see here, that one was removed. But in my this logger is present in my custom policy. So here you can see that old client ID and client secret. But in API's logger, you can't able to see that values. You can see only the new values. Basically, I'm removing and I'm adding those new values here. Like this only it will work. See. This is the value which we will get from external API. If I'm missing any credentials, the first choice router will throw the error. You can see the error status code and the error message, which I have mentioned in set response. It is displaying here error, invalid client, message, invalid header. Status code 401. This is what the POC you can see. Okay, another one is it possible to deploy in UAE? Yes, we can deploy our policy in UAE in Exchange. You can see here, you can see publish asset. You need to give some asset name and you have to mention which type of asset you are going to publish. So here we are going to publish policy. So we have to click here, and here you need to change your entire project structure basically. He, for example, when you are deploying using maven command, we will create a UA elements like this. But when you are planning to deploy through the UI, so you have to create one schema file. In that schema, JSON schema file, in that JSON schema file, you have to create that UI element components and everything. So we have to do some modification. After doing that only we can publish it here. It will ask for the JSON schema file, metadata file. This metadata file is basically that MIME type version. It will contains everything. So like that we can publish the policy in UA also. This is what I think. Anyone having any doubts?
Thank you, Krishna, for sharing this. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you.
Anyone has any questions?
All good.
Yeah. Krishna, can you just shop staring?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. If anything else, can we proceed? Can you able to hear me?
Yes, Priti. You can
Yeah.
proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no questions, I guess.
Okay. So yeah, thank you, Krishnan. Thank you for your quick demo. It was a wonderful session with your POC. So many thanks to all the participants, each and everyone, for your involvement over here. So what's next? So we hope like today's session like helped you to learn something new and explore something in our MuleSoft ecosystem. So please connect it and keep sharing knowledge and continue supporting the community. Tag us in LinkedIn or social media, and send feedback as well. So we welcome the feedback. And yeah, thank you once again. Like we look forward to see you all at the upcoming sessions. Have a great day. Thank you everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Preeti.
Thank you, Preeti. Thank you, Lily.
Thank you team.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.